This is the Saturday morning edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. We do have some risk areas. The good news is for the next several days, they're pretty low key on the marginal side. And you're looking at Florida today, and that's really the only part of the U.S. that has any risk. And it's a thin strip from Orlando, maybe covering Tampa, Palm Bay, kind of in central Florida. There is a minimal tornado risk that goes along with that at 2%, but largely the storms are forming along a front and probably don't have a lot of support to become widespread severe. Three, two, one. CSU's look at this. It's the learning machine model does put just a really slight tornado risk in about that same area. In fact, the front's making progress. So what the SPC did is they just cut the top part of this off, basically, as the front moves along. And that makes a lot of sense. It's the same with all of this, with the hail and the wind. It's all along and ahead of the front. And it's not very consequential. Now, we go ahead to Sunday. This is north of the front again. These are the hail producers, as Springfield knows. So this is the main threat for this on Sunday. And so central Missouri, right along I-70, maybe as far north as Quincy, Springfield, Illinois, maybe down to around Rolla, Jefferson City, St. Louis, certainly included in this 1 out of 5 level risk for severe thunderstorms. But if you look at it, it's really hail we're worried about. Now, everybody wants to know, are we going to have baseball-sized hail with this? This isn't a very dynamic system. So I don't think that the supercells will be that robust with this. But of course, it's a forecast, so we'll keep an eye on that. I did want to note that if we move ahead one more day to Monday, and this has been updated, whereas the morning outlook had this level 1 risk more like this, they did kind of butt it back down along I-44 and into eastern Kansas a little bit more. So that does include more of the Ozarks. Springfield's right here, so you're included. So is Joplin now. But Kansas City, Topeka, Lawrence, Jefferson City, Quincy, Hannibal area, St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois, up to Bloomington, Champaign, Urbana, those areas all under a risk for Monday. And yes, this is still primarily a hail and wind risk. Tornado risks are not even showing up here. So a hail risk in northern Missouri on the northern end of that view of that watch area, that marginal area, and perhaps some room to extend that to the east a little bit, and a little bit of wind probability as well. Now, going ahead to Tuesday, we do have central Arkansas, much of Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, and the Dallas area, and northeast Texas, with a 15% chance of any severe weather. This is for Tuesday. If we look at CSU's version of this, here's the SPC Outlook, and they, as they almost always do, put higher probabilities north of where the SPC puts them. So that would go as far north as southern Illinois and about the southern third of Missouri. And it's a little bit of a wider space, too. And the bullseye at 30% of any severe weather is right there south of Harrison, Arkansas, in that area. And that would be for Tuesday. If we take a look at the tornado risk for this, it's very faint. It's, lower than 10% according to StormNet. And it's right in this area right here. So very minimal. Now at the jet stream level, at least the winds are starting to increase a little bit Tuesday as compared to today, tomorrow, and Monday. So there is a little bit more room here for energetic thunderstorm development, broader base supercell development here as this system in the southwest starts to dislodge a little bit. So we got a pretty active wind flow here. That's probably more encouraging. If you remember, the outlook area is something like this. I think that's well placed. There could even be room for something back here too. We'll just have to wait and see. And it could move more north as the learning machine from CSU has indicated here. Now we go to Wednesday, the next day, and now this shifts south and east a little bit. Birmingham, Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Alexandria, Baton Rouge, back to Waco, not quite to Dallas. They're in a 15% risk for Wednesday as well. If we look at CSU's probabilities on that, that's far more to the east and to the south than SPC's model, and also more to the north, up into the Tennessee and Ohio River Valley, too. The tornado risk, as again looked at by StormNet, is a little bit high here in southern Mississippi, central Alabama, and if we were to change this from the 1 p.m. See, it's indicated as 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. If I look, and I didn't put it in here, but if I moved at the 4, it just shifted slightly south and east is what that did. So the jet stream is pretty active on Wednesday. Notice that this trough is going to supply a big shot of cold air again, so we're going to stabilize the United States big time after Wednesday once again. So the storm threat becomes pretty minimal again for several days after that, but this jet core right here is enough to fuel now some possibilities on the East Coast. So that was for Wednesday. That's this area. Now if we move ahead to Thursday, a continuation of that same idea, we have a little bit of risk here in the North Carolina, the Carolinas in general, maybe parts of Virginia. And again, SPC mentioning it in their wording, but not actually laying out an area. Now we're going to jump all the way to Saturday. We're going to take a break on Friday for much of the country. And then on Saturday, we have this probability showing up as well. And it's a minimal probability, so keep an eye on that. And here's the supercell composite. It's subdued. There aren't high probabilities really, but it's all in the south here and a little bit of that hail north of the front for the next 3 days. And then for the 9th through the 15th, Texas becomes lit up a little bit more, as does some of the Gulf Coast and Central Florida area. You know, when you see that, it's almost a sure bet that there's a front draped in here or something like that. And that represents the boundary in which those supercells may form along or near. And then May 16th through the 22nd, things really calm down. And the front range of the Rockies there in New Mexico and Colorado might become the focus about the middle of May. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.